The second Deputy Speaker of Parliament seriously as the issue of quorum is becoming too frequent. Second Deputy Speaker was compelled to adjourn sitting on Wednesday since members present were not up to the one-third quorum required for the start of business. Mr. Siama's admonishing came after the MP for South Dai, Mr. Roxon Nelson Dapamakbo, raised the question of quorum.
Mr. Speaker, with your leave.
Honourable member, let's adopt the proceedings first.
We cannot even adopt the proceedings. We don't have a commencement quorum. We don't even have a quorum to commence proceedings. We don't. So may I be permitted to make my submissions? Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, with your leave, may I read Article 102? A quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter that the Supreme Court have had cause to make pronouncements on. It is binding on the House. We cannot, as a House of Record, ignore this and proceed with business this morning when we are woefully incapable of making the minimum quorum of 91.
If at the time of sitting, a member takes notice or objection that there are present in the House, besides the person presiding, less than 1/3 of the number of all the members present, and after an interval of 10 minutes, a quorum is not present, the person presiding shall adjourn the House without a question being put. Make sure the bell is rang.
I'm reliably being informed that we are more than 90. But I'm surprised. I see the Honorable Atuforson very fresh, beaming with energy. You just return and you want to close and go home. Why? Please do service to Mother Ghana. Serve your country.
Now, Mr. Speaker, he knows very well that he has at least 137 members. So even without us on the minority, he should not be found wanting with quorum. You agree with me that 15 minutes has long passed. And Speaker, let us do the decent thing and encourage our colleague, the majority whip, to try and get his side to take government business more seriously.
Honourable members, I think we have to take the House seriously. If we've been following the media houses over the weekend, all is on Parliament. The fact that we don't get the numbers to do business. And I think it is coming unbecoming. On that note, I'm bringing proceedings to a close and adjourn the House to tomorrow 10 o'clock in the forenoon.
Meanwhile, the minority leader, Dr. Cassiel Atuforson, says his caucus will not give in to demands of the majority. He told a news conference in Parliament that his side feels victimized by government, a reason why they will not be cooperative. He explained that MPs from the majority side keep displaying unpatriotic conduct by leaving the work of Parliament to embark in party politics. Majority Chief Whip Mr. Frank Anodompre, however, said the minority are only being mischievous and sabotaging government business. Both leaders were reacting to events in the chamber on Wednesday.
The MPP should not expect the NDC to do government business for them. Whilst they sit in the comfort of their homes, draw on salaries, and then go to constituencies, use government vehicles and government fuel and campaign. We won't do that. So we urge them that in as much as they are persecuting our members, they should withdraw from the field and come and do business here. Since they have escalated the persecution of our colleague Honorable Grace, they should not expect cooperation from us. That is simple. We will not announce the strategy going forward. But all what we can assure you is that all options are on the table on a daily basis. And they should not expect cooperation from us. I won't go into the details, but let them be assured that amid persecution, cooperation will suffer. We will work for the interest of the people of Ghana. And let Ghanaians be aware that the MPP do not have the moral right to talk about patriotism. If you are patriotic, in the middle of economic crisis, you won't behave the way you are behaving.
Any time that it matters that we need our numbers, we've been able to marshal our numbers.
But I see the tactics our colleagues are adopting. They come to the chamber today, I saw many of them, and then they withdrew. If this is how they are going to serve Mother Ghana, the good people of this country will decide. Mark it anywhere. Tomorrow, pick the vote and proceedings, and you will see the number on their side that has signed in. But because they have planned with mischief that they will raise quorum and come under 48 just to disrupt business. But they should realize that the Parliament of Ghana doesn't prosecute only government business. They shouldn't say that they are boycotting Parliament and sneak and go and participate in committee meetings. That is weak position, and it's not a principal position. If they are boycotting Parliament, they should boycott Parliament in its totality.
Chairperson of the Convention People's Party, Nana Akosua Frimpoma Sabong Kumankuma, says the party will strategize to empower women to break psychological and mental barriers. She said women must face challenges and bottlenecks to thrive under this current global dispensation. The CPP chairperson stated this at a stakeholder engagement organized by the Ghana News Agency's Tema Regional Office, which is a platform rolled out for state and non-state actors to address national issues. She explained that Article 17(1) and 2 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution guarantee gender equality and freedom of women and men, girls and boys from discrimination based on social or economic status. She also urged women to pick up the tools and break the glass ceilings, stressing that efforts for gender equity would continue to be a mirage if women failed to confront the issues. Of the court, where the Court of Appeal has dismissed an appeal filed by MP for Asin North, James Gyakye Quayson, to stay proceedings at the Accra High Court. Mr. Chatu Chikata, lawyer for Mr. Quayson, filed the application following the High Court's refusal to put on hold the criminal trial pending the determination of an appeal against the daily hearing. The court held that per the practice direction, the High Court acted within the remit of the law and is not in breach of any constitutional provision. It also held that the said order does not in any way offend the rights of the aggrieved member of Parliament.
Mr. Chatu Chikata, arguing his case out, claimed that the trial at the High Court breached James Gyakye Quayson's right to a fair trial, for which constitutes an exceptional circumstance and for which the Court of Appeal must exercise its discretion in accordance with Article 19 of the Constitution and stay proceedings. He said Mr. Gyakye Quayson's right to a fair hearing is being violated with the trial court's decision to continue the proceedings even though disclosure requirement has not been fully satisfied. Mr. Chikata referenced an instance where the first prosecution witness made reference to an attachment to a witness statement during Tuesday's trial, which the defense has not been served. Mr. Chikata contended again that proceedings at the High Court is already tainted due to failure by the judge to ensure that full disclosures are made as insisted by the Supreme Court. He also submitted that there are indications that the trial is intended to reach a predetermined outcome based on prejudicial comments by the President and some government officials. He said those comments are a clear violation of the Constitution, but the trial court has described them as irrelevant. The Court of Appeal, however, disagreeing with the appellant, held that the trial court has not made any decision based on those comments. It also ruled that Mr. Chikata failed to demonstrate that the High Court's order breached any right to a fair hearing. The court held that the appellant failed to demonstrate any exceptional circumstance to warrant it to use its discretion to reverse the High Court's ruling. Attorney General Mr. Godfred Yeboah-Dame opposed the submissions by Mr. Chikata. It was his case that the true reason for the appeal is an attempt by Mr. Gyakye Quayson not to stand trial. Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Mr. Abraham Amaliba, said the ruling is not a surprise.
Though not surprised by the turn of events, Mr. Gyakye Quayson's legal team says is disappointed with the court's decision.
That hasn't come to us as a surprise. We are still soldiering on. Even though this has been dismissed, we still have some applications at the Supreme Court and we'll pursue it. but it hasn't come to us as a surprise. Can the statements made by the president not weigh on a judge who's appointed by that same president? How in God's name can comments from the judge, from the president, not have an effect on a judge who was appointed by the president? So I'm saying that I'm not surprised, but so let's leave it at that. The matter was still pending in court. That's what is important. The matter was still before a judge. And once you make those prejudicial comments, it is expected that those comments will have some weight on the judge. So I don't think that the court was right.
A 9-member panel of justices of the Supreme Court has struck out an application to commit the Speaker of Parliament for contempt for the continuous hearing of the LGBTQI+ bill. The panel, presided over by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, held the view that the applicant did not make a prima facie case and has to convince them to injunct the work of Parliament in relation to the application. The application was then withdrawn by the applicant and was subsequently dismissed by the Apex Court.
The applicant, Dr. Amanda Odwe, asked the Supreme Court to commit the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, for contempt because of a decision to allow Parliament to proceed with the hearing of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, despite being aware that there are 2 substantive cases pertaining to the bill, including the now dismissed injunction before the courts, each naming the Speaker as respondent. Dr. Amanda Odwe, who is an academic researcher in the substantive suit, is challenging the constitutionality of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, which is fighting to criminalize the practice of LGBTQ and any activity promoting it in the country. Per her writ, Dr. Odwe alleges that the Speaker of Parliament violated Article 108 of the 1992 Constitution by causing the promotion of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021, also known as the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021, to proceed in Parliament, notwithstanding that the said bill was not introduced by or on behalf of the President and has the effect of imposing a charge on the Consolidated Fund or other public funds of Ghana. Dr. Odwe is therefore seeking a declaration from the Supreme Court that the action of the Speaker of Parliament breaches Article 108 of the 1992 Constitution and an order for the Speaker or his deputies from violating this provision. The panel, through Justice Gertrude Tokonu, said issues raised by this application for injunction are matters to be determined by the substantive matter. They also held that the application could not convince them to injunct an uncompleted work of Parliament.
You're watching The Breakfast News. Away from the courts to education, where the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, in its quest to turn out employable graduates with hands-on practical experience, has organized an innovation and career fair at Takwa. The fair is to prepare students to seamlessly fit into the world of work after school.
Employment is a critical concern in Ghana, with graduates being unable to access the job market due to lack of opportunities or the lack of relevant skills required by industry. It is to address this challenge that the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, at Takwa initiated the Innovation and Career Fair to prepare the students for the future as either entrepreneurs or sought-after human resource for industry. The program, which is in its 7th year, brings together students from the various departments to identify a challenge and come out with practical solutions that would have a job creation potential. Among the innovations were the smart helmets with a mobile app to ensure total compliance in the mines, automated railway system which would authenticate and control railway traffic system to avoid potential accidents at level crossings, and the conversion of a manual wheelchair into electric-powered smart wheelchair, among others. The electrical and electronics departments, which converted a manual wheelchair into electric-powered wheelchair, emerged victors and took a cash prize of 5,000 Ghana cedis. Ms. Elizabeth Achampon is a team leader.
The objective of our project was to create a system that will help facilitate the conversion of manually operated wheelchairs into an electrically operated ones. We did this by the components we used, or we attached our kit at a fractional cost to help mobility impaired people to be able to move around freely without the help of anyone.
Team Razatek from the School of Railways and Infrastructure Development, led by Ms. Perpetual Atta, developed the system to authenticate and control traffic at railway level crossings.
Considering the current state of the railway sector, we came together to put our heads together to bring about a dual combo innovation that encompasses an automated railway level crossing system and then an app system. We integrated some components such as advanced sensors, street lights, automatic barrier closure, and traffic lights.
The Pro Vice Chancellor of UMAT, Professor Simmons Anthony, encouraged the students to specialize on a particular project where they have comparative advantage so as to be effective and make the desired impact.
The main thing I'm taking away is that at least it shows that, our young guys are thinking, they're trying to, apply the theories they've been, teaching them into solving problems. We need to mentor them, coach them, and then encourage them so that it can come up, to reality.
The National Communications Authority is holding 2 Vodafone agents responsible for breaches of the Central SIM Register. The alleged breach of the Central SIM Register happened when a Vodafone agent in Kumasi, using a device with a Vodafone number, fraudulently used the Ghana card details and buyer data of one Prince Edward Deba to register 3 phone numbers without the consent of the customer. All 3 numbers were then allegedly passed by the NCA's app as though they were genuine. Unlike in previous cases of fraudulent SIM registration, where the perpetrators were only able to bypass stage 1 of the process, this time round the fraudster also bypassed stage 2. The NCA is putting the blame at the doorstep of 2 Vodafone agents and has asked Vodafone to ensure that they are arrested, investigated, and prosecuted. The Nabdam District Director for Agriculture, Mr. Rashid Imoro, has refuted reports of an armyworm invasion in maize farms in the Nabdam area of the Upper East region. In an interview with the GBC News, Mr. Imoro explained that the few hectares of land affected had been brought under control. There were earlier reports that fall armyworms have invaded many farms in the Nabdam district and were destroying crops at a rapid rate.
I would like to tell the relevant authority that there is no cause for alarm. Since the inception of the rainy season, all the area that were infested with fall armyworm is 176 acres. So I don't know how can people just go into the internet, start making that there's an invasion of fall armyworm in Nabdam district. It's not this Nabdam. If it is Nabdam in Upper East region, we don't have cause for alarm. I can assure you that we still have a lot of chemicals sitting down in our shelf. Officers are going around, scouting, educating, and doing the spraying if there needs be. So there's no cause for alarm. You see that all our maize are looking healthy. I show you the heavily infested one, which was just controlled last week. We don't have issue at all. Of course, since 2016, if you are aware, there's this thing called fall armyworm. We know only African armyworm, but since 2016, there's this invasion. I don't know, they say from North America down to Africa, and Ghana happens to be one of the countries that fall armyworm started appearing 2016, and ever since we have been trained, we build our capacity, and then government is helping us every year with chemical to control. So what we normally do is that at the beginning of the season, we go around educating farmers, we go around doing scouting, and if there need be, we do the control. So as we speak, we don't have issue. So I don't know where this euphoria about infestation in Nabdam coming from. I'm the director here, I'm just from Ford. Well, you've not been waiting for about 2 hours now. I was at Sakote, so there's no cause for alarm at all.
Away from Nabdam and fall armyworms to Europe, where President Akufo-Addo and his Portuguese counterpart Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa have signed bilateral instruments of cooperation in the areas of defense, political consultation and trade. President Akufo-Addo is in Lisbon for an official visit.
Lisbon have enjoyed good relations, but both countries are yet to harness their potential to benefit their citizens. President Akufo-Addo's 3 days visit to Lisbon is part of efforts to deepen the relationship. In a close meeting between the two leaders, the focus was on boosting further political, cultural, people-to-people exchanges and cooperation at a multilateral level, and on the need to promote a better world by addressing global issues related to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. At a joint news conference with President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, President Akufo-Addo stated that Ghana wants to make a departure on the old economy, which has been dependent on the production and export of raw materials and also dependent on aid.
Ghana is not just another country, African country. Ghana is a key country in Africa. You are very special, the President. I don't know if you notice it. Sometimes one gets used to his or her own personality. You are very special because most of this stability, most of this peace, most of this growth is the result of your action and of your options. The way you do not separate the political democracy from social and economic democracy. The aims you choose, and you always chose in your political life, for your country, for Africa, and for the relations between Africa and Europe. Very consistent.
In 1482, Elmina Castle, on the coast of the central region of Ghana, the first European trading post built on the Gulf of Guinea, and as such the oldest European building in existence in sub-Saharan Africa, was constructed by the Portuguese. The word Elmina, as you know, means the mine in Portuguese, underscoring the historic importance of the exploitation of mineral deposits in the economy of Ghana.
He further disclosed that the President of Portugal has also resolved to give voice to Ghana's cause and interest within the European Union. On global security, he stated with President Joe Biden of the United States, President Emmanuel Macron calling publicly for reforms at the UN Security Council in line with the Eswini consensus. They look forward to the leaders of the 3 other permanent members also supporting the reform process.
We, on the other hand, will also help to facilitate the provision of a platform for enhanced economic engagement between Portugal and the member countries of ECOWAS, which should boost the trade volumes and help bring prosperity to our two people.
He assured President de Sousa that Ghana will collaborate with Portugal to find solutions to challenges such as the eradication of widespread poverty, elimination of irregular migration, insecurity and human rights violations, terrorism and violence extremism, human and drug trafficking, piracy, as well as climate change and its attendant negative impact on the environment and livelihoods. Later, the President visited Lisbon City Council and was given the keys to the city of Lisbon by the Deputy Mayor Felipe Anacoreta Correa. Edward Nyaku, reporting for GBC News.
And to Kenya, where the country has closed schools in 2 main cities as a 3-day opposition protest kicked off with demonstrators confronting police. Tear gas has been fired in the Kenyan capital Nairobi and the coastal city of Mombasa at those protesting over a high cost of living. Several people were injured after being shot as police battled protesters. Many businesses have remained shut over fears of looting, with people scared of getting caught up in violent clashes. Last week, at least 14 people died in protests. 10 were shot dead by the police. Human rights organizations have strongly criticized the police for what they call their excessive use of force last Wednesday. More than 50 children were admitted to hospital after tear gas was fired into their classroom in Nairobi, Kenya. Now, red alerts for extreme heat are in place in most of Italy's main cities as a heat wave intensifies in Europe. Temperatures were expected to peak with 23 cities on high alert, from Trieste in the northeast to Messina in the southwest. The warnings mean the heat poses a threat to everybody, not just vulnerable groups. Wildfires are also raging across the continent, including in Greece and in the Swiss Alps. Millions of people in the northern hemisphere are being affected by scorching temperatures. It's being caused by a high-pressure system bringing in warmer tropical air south of a jet stream currently stuck over Central Europe. South Africa, the host of this year's BRICS summit, says Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend. As a member of the International Criminal Court, the African nation is obligated to arrest the Russian leader if he shows up. For a second straight night, Russia attacked Odessa, one of Ukraine's main ports for exporting grain. Assaults are also reported in Kyiv. Ukrainian Agriculture Minister Mykola Solsky says a considerable amount of grain exports infrastructure at a port in Chornomorsk in the Odessa region has been damaged in a Russian attack. He said the attack also destroyed 60,000 tons of grain that should have been shipped via the Black Sea Grain Export Agreement 60 days ago. So that brings us to the end of Breakfast News for today, the 20th of July, 2023. Coming up, we have scooting off into the kitchen for how to prepare breakfast burrito. This year is the 75th anniversary of the Ghana National College, and so there'll be a conversation on that. We have breakfast with Kini Ice, songwriter and musician. Ahead of all of that, we have the headlines with Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete and Sheikh Arimiya Shaibu, and sports news at 7 right here on GTV. My name is Kafui Day. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, it's hashtag GTV Breakfast, and the next time you see me, I'll be in the kitchen. Don't go anywhere.